my campaign or my challenge or the election with Representative Barbara Watson. She didn't do any mail. She did not canvass, which means going door to door and talking to the voters. She did not do any mail. I fully expected that she was going to get a lot of votes from the Miami Gardens area because in Miami Gardens you had a lot of races that were going on. You had the county commission race between Barbara Jordan and Mayor Shirley Gibson. You had a mayoral race where you had several candidates, including the winner, the ultimate winner, which is Oliver Gilbert. So I knew that there were going to be a lot of votes coming from Miami Gardens area. I fully expected that she was going to win those areas, and because those precincts were going to overperform, I expected her to do very well. What I did not expect is for her to defeat me in absentee ballots, because in essence, the only way that you can effectively run a absentee ballot campaign is you have to have the resources to put a team together, meaning that you've got to call people to remind them that they received the absentee ballots and to please fill them out. No one that I know of received any phone calls. You have to mail them, and again, she didn't do any mail in her budget. So that part of it was out as well. And the other way that people do the clean way of doing absentee ballot campaigning is to go and knock on the doors, remind them that they received an absentee ballot, and to see if perhaps they have any questions of you as the candidate, or if it's a volunteer of yours, to see if they have any questions of you as the candidate, and then leave them with some literature and hope that you get that vote. Again, her campaign did not do that either, to the best of our knowledge. But what really set everything out is when I discovered that there was a lady who calls herself the absentee ballot queen, received $4,770 from my opponent's campaign. And also, a lot of the individuals that she paid for canvassing are known throughout the community as individuals who are absentee ballot boleteros, as they call them. Those are the people who go out there and actually physically pick up absentee ballots from individuals. So when you put two and two together, and then also when you notice that the same name of the individual that calls herself the absentee ballot queen not only received funds from my opponent, but also was paid by the Barbara Jordan campaign, the Frederica Wilson campaign, and a PAC, a political action committee, that is called the Democracy Project. I think everybody could put two and two together and see why would so many different people pay the same person? What is it that she does? What's her specialty? Again, when you look at her card, she calls herself the absentee ballot queen. So that's why I'm saying that there's absentee ballot fraud in my race.
And how did you find out about this woman?
The day after the election, I called the team together and said we needed to analyze what went wrong with the election, because this was a race that we were supposed to win very easily. We were supposed to win it hands down. And not only were we supposed to win it, but we did everything right. We were on radio. We were on various radio stations, not just in the Haitian community, but within the African American community, within the Jamaican and the Caribbean communities. We were on the religious stations, WMBM. We did massive amounts of mail. We did not only robocalls, but we did live calls. We went door to door. We did everything right that a campaign is supposed to do. So when the results came in on election night, the very next day, we pulled the figures together, and then we went about trying to figure out who did what. And that's when we started tracking down the people that were being paid by her campaign. And that's when the boletero's name popped out. And there are individuals out there, obviously, who know who she is.
Uh, you cannot tell us the name of the person, right?
Well, it's very easy to find out, because if you go on my opponent's, if you look at the campaign finance reports, which is public information on the Florida Supervisor of Elections website, there's only one person that she paid $4,770 to.
Did you turn her to the authorities, to the?
Yes, I went with the information that I have to the state attorney's office on Monday. I turned over all the information that I have, and then also I have a recording of another individual that does absentee ballots where she recorded, excuse me, she recorded an advertising in Haitian Creole where she was telling individuals that when you receive your absentee ballots to please call me and I will come help you vote the right way. So I think all of those things put together just spells that there are people who are doing what they were not supposed to do, because within Miami-Dade County, you're not allowed to tamper with absentee ballots.
What do you want from the authorities? You want them to recount the vote?
No, at this point, I don't want them to recount because I think the recount process was fair when we did the recount last week. And again, I can accept the defeat. It's not the defeat that's the problem. What I want is to make sure that the future elections that are happening out here, that we don't have to submit to a criminal element in order to win an election. Because if we allow these absentee ballot fraudsters to continue to operate in broad daylight, then in essence what we're saying is the only way that a person could get elected in the United States of America, the place where democracy is supposed to reign supreme, the only way that you could get elected is if you deal with the criminal element, and that's just a shame. So what I would like from the authorities is to look at 100% of all of the ballots that were cast via absentee throughout all of Miami-Dade County, not just my race, but everybody's race. And I believe that if Miami-Dade County elected officials and the supervisor of election are willing to take all of the absentee ballots and match the signatures to the files, they will see that a lot of them are fraudulent.
There is another candidate, for example, Paul Crespo, Pedro Garcia,
Yes.
that they are trying to, I don't know if the right word is lawsuit, but to ask the Department of Election to revise
Right.
the results.
Right.
Will you join them? Because they are trying to search for a lawyer.
I would gladly join them. And you know what? There are so many candidates that are alleging absentee ballot fraud right now that trying to find a good election lawyer is very hard, because all of the good election lawyers are taken up by other candidates. This is a big problem. It's a massive problem. And when the governor is trying to purge citizens from the voter rolls because of fraud, election fraud, Mr. Governor, the way to get to the fraud is through the absentee ballots. If you want to eradicate fraud in the state of Florida, let's look into the absentees. And so, yes, I would gladly join them. If they want to do if there's a class action lawsuit out there, then count John Patrick Julien in.
There is just a few months ahead from the elections. How important is discover this in this moment, where the results can change dramatically?
Yes, that is a tremendously great question. This, to me, seems like it was the trial run to the presidential election. I think everybody is sharpening their skills, and one side is looking to steal the presidential election in the state of Florida. And again, I think it's a shame. The absentee ballots were not meant to be a election changer. It was designed to help our military personnel vote, and those individuals who had to be out of the country temporarily to allow them to do their civic duty and vote. But what we have turned it into right now in this country is something that is deplorable, and it must end.